Hello there and welcome back to Satisfactory, yes. Back on good old Satisfactory, ready, kind of ready for another day. It's going to be very interesting. Sorry. This video, obviously, as you can tell, is going out on a Saturday. Probably late Saturday. I'm not exactly sure when I'm going to be able to get it out. This is pretty early, so it's about 5 o'clock in the morning right now for me, but yeah, it's going to be a very interesting episode. So let me explain a few things before we get started real quick. This still is a modded playthrough as well, so you're we're still using, technically we're still using mods, and if you'd like to know what those mods are, the mods list is down in the description section of the video, along with a link to Satisfactory Mod Manager, so you can download and install mods for yourself. Yes. You know, all the goodies. But yeah, so there's a couple of reasons this is happening. One is because we need to do a kind of a city tour, so that this video also be named differently. I haven't come up with the name yet. I'm probably just gonna put city tour down in the name. So whatever it might end up being. But yeah, we're going to be doing a city tour, so there's not going to be any building or any constructing or anything like that. So if you're not interested, just stay for the city tour. That way you can see everything if you haven't seen everything already. We're going to be going through. I'm going to be explaining things. I do apologize for the camera angles. I'm going to try out some. I'm going to try out some camera angles and stuff like that to kind of get better shots. So it's not just from a technically, it's not just from a ground view, stuff like that. So we're going to be doing some interesting things, but do forgive me for the shoddy camera work. I am not a professional by any means, but I will do my best. But yeah, like I said, this is a city tour, so that's why it is also happening on a Saturday. As well as our Monday episode will not be there because this episode is replacing. It is replacing the Monday's episode, so there won't be one there. This will be episode 216, but it'll be just kind of a city tour. Just wanted to do one. We've been, as you can see, if we hit the pause key, we're at 600 hours, 604 to be exact. But I wanted to do this at 600 hours, kind of had the idea for it, but yeah. The episodes didn't work out in my favor, so we're going to be doing a Monday episode, obviously replacing the Monday episode with this Saturday episode. Anyway, enough of me talking on and on and on. Let's go ahead and get started. So, first we're just going to look around here. This is the city center. Obviously, disclaimer as we go through these areas. Things are not complete, obviously. This series is nowhere near completion. For one thing, everything, I would say probably 90% of the entire city, maybe 80% of the entire city is in some stage of construction. So do be aware of that. But yeah, this is the city center. I decided to. We're also going to be going through this kind of how we went through the series. So that's how we're going to kind of follow the build. A little bit, and by all means, I do not think that this is a spectacular build. Like, I'm quite proud of it, obviously, but I'm not gonna toot my own horn here or anything. So I know that there's a million better builds out there than mine. Obviously, I'm probably down in the lower, I don't know, the lower 500,000 builds of all time. Not even best builds, just in general. Yeah, this is the like I said, this is the space elevator. We decided to put it right in the center, on top of what we call the fishbowl. Which I will explain as well. So this is the fishbowl here that we're kind of standing on. Obviously, my entire city center is not built up yet. Kind of just been waiting to build it because we've been busy with other things. But yeah, and we've got the main road kind of going around it. And I'll show you why we call it the fishbowl here. Just real quick, we're just gonna delete this wall. So this is why we call it the fishbowl, because this is the center, or this is the kind of I do plan on adding windows to this at some point, so it's more like a fishbowl. It's not going to be round, it's going to be a square fish tank. I'll just call it the fish tank instead. How about that? But yeah, these are the what the devs call fart rocks. So these fart rocks, if you get too close, you will start suffocating, even though you're wearing a mask, which is really weird. But yeah, you will start suffocating. That's why the ceiling in here is so high, is because of those on top of there. Now, again, I don't call these fart rocks. The devs call them fart rocks. So and their guesses will guess you out. Just so that you're aware. But yeah, that's why I call it the fishbowl, is because it's kind of encasing like wildlife. Obviously, update 8's coming out real soon. So that's going to alleviate that problem. I'm going to keep the ones I've built around though, because there's a reason for them and whatnot. But yeah, anyway, on with the city to okay. So, what should we start with first? We should start with the main one of the very first main route we built. So after we built the fishbowl, it was decided, because what I was going to do is I was going to do individual factories set up around the world, around the map, and those would build different things, and then we put train lines in between them, which is a pretty good idea. I might do that for next season. That actually kind of is a little bit of my plan. Is to do that. So yeah, but it didn't turn out that way. It actually turned out we ended up building around here. I will show you the underground, just real quick like. So let's go over here. So this ramp right here, this has been here since, I don't even know since what episode, but it's been here since the early game. Don't worry about the materials that you can see here. This right here, this is where I set up my hub. And I don't think I've moved this hub since the first episode. This hub has been here, obviously it's encased in concrete now. I'm going to move it eventually, don't worry. But yeah, this hub right here, this has been here since the very beginning of the series. Yep. So this thing has been here. You're probably noticing something weird. Hold on, let me fix that. There we go. Got it. Sorry again for this. But yeah, like I said, this is the hub. Apologies for the frame rate. Obviously, this is a big map, so it's pretty hard to get smooth kind of camera movements here. I mean, I'm a noob, but I should be able to move smoother than this, but it's just frame rate. That's all it is. But yeah, like I said, it's been here since the very, very beginning, including these chests that are on here. If you want to know how to do this, I can't remember which episode I did this in. It was very early on in the series, but basically you just take you have the micromanager mod, and you place a foundation on the edge, close to about the height of the platform here, and then you just place a box on it, and then you use the micromanager to move the box into place. That's why these are here. So as you can tell, these are a little bit off. This is the original box, and these ones have all been these three have been added. As you can see, they're all in line. Actually, they're not even all in line. And is this the original box? No, this one's the original box. Okay. Yeah. So here's the inside of the hub, obviously. I miss the old days when when the MAM was part of the hub. I think that was really cool. Like, I'd like both options. Have a separate hub separate research station you can place, but also have that one in here. It just seems so empty. Anyway, hopefully they'll add more to it eventually. Like I said, obviously it's encased in concrete. This machine has been here since our Fixmas episodes. I repurposed this machine to make these things so I can paint the roads and stuff. Because you need these capsules for the painting of the designs on foundations and stuff. So that's why you need that. And that's been here for a long time as well. We got the shop here, obviously the research station, and then we've got kind of this as well, which is basically turns whatever you select in here, either grass or wood, into the compacted stuff. Sorry if I forget names and whatnot. I know it's probably going to be infuriating, but it just happens. But yeah, like I said, this area down here, this has been the same for a couple hundred episodes now, so it's been like that. And this is one of our very first train lines. We'll get to that in a little bit. Yeah, let's go ahead and zoom on, get the zoomies and go on up here. So this was the first main street we ever built when we actually started to get around to actually build. Once we decided we were going for a city build, that was it. Obviously, like I said, some of this is not complete. Some of it has been redone and just never finished. And stuff like there's ladders everywhere, foundations just randomly placed. But yeah, if we go up to each one of these, they should have what it's making. We got steel pipe here. We've got cable here and stuff like that. So we'll go all the way to the end first to get where we started. I built this main street, and as I was building it, I was kind of mapping out, because as a city it's going to be gridded more than likely. I was kind of mapping out how big the blocks were going to be. I didn't exactly have a set block size, but I made a decent size for most of this. So if you're wondering why there's hills and stuff in here, while there are these upslopes and it's not all flat and stuff like that, is because they're actually, if you were to go underneath here, there's a lot of uphill and downhill sections in the landscape. So I had to accommodate different sections of the city for the different landscape elevations, so that we didn't get too high and we didn't end up running into the ground with it. I think the concrete one was one of our first ever factories, full-on factories. I think I can't remember. It's been over a year at this point, I think, since we started this series. Actually, I don't know. I wish I knew when I started this series. I can't remember. Somebody out there will say in the comments. They'll go back and look at the first episode. I just can't be bothered, to be honest. But yeah, this is our main iron factory. This one, I think there's... I can't remember, actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10... There's 22, I think, in there. Is there 22? Or there's either 22 or 20. But yeah, per row. I think there's 100. 20, 40, 60, 80. Yeah, there's 100. There's 100 smelters. Yeah, that's right. It is 20. Okay. Yeah, there's 100 smelters in here, which all make the iron. And this has actually got multiple levels to it as well. So what we can do is, well, we can't go below. I don't think I ever made a way to get down here. But down below this floor is where a lot of the stuff comes in. So you've got all these different ones. This is all Mark IV belts, by the way. We're about to make aluminum here soon. So aluminum sheets, so we'll be able to do Mark V. That's going to take me literal years to upgrade to Mark V. Yeah, this is a pretty good system as well. If we actually go underneath here, a lot of this is merged and split down these rows. So this is, if you don't really know, the system actually has a name. And I was building this way. I don't mean to sound like a hipster here, but I was building this way before I knew it had a name for it, and whatnot. But this is called a manifold design. I was just doing this because I was like, oh, I could just split here, 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 and here. And I was doing this before I even knew it was an actual thing. I was just like, oh, it's pretty efficient to build this way. And then I watched some other YouTubers, and I was just like, oh, it's an actual thing. It's just like, okay, that's cool. I'm glad I was doing good. This is called the manifold design, though. So basically, you have a set amount coming through this, coming through the first splitter here. You have a set amount, which in this case would be 480 because it's Mark IV. and then it splits half and half. So that 480 gets divided in two. That goes to this first machine, and then the other half of that 480 keeps going, and then again it splits in half to the left and two forward, and then again splits in half, splits in half, splits in half. Now, when this system is completely full, it works perfectly. The machines get 30 per minute, which is what they need. Actually, these are overclocked, so they're probably... Are these overclocked? They might be, or they might not be. I'm not really sure. Let's actually find out here. These are not overclocked. Okay, so it's 30 per minute. So 30 per minute. So each one of these, when this system is completely full, as long as the main belt that's feeding this line can handle this many machines, which is 480, so 30, 60, 90, 120, and then 30 and 60. So that's 180, isn't it? So 120 plus 60 is 180. So you got 180, and the belt is 480. So obviously it can handle. Now you're probably wondering, that's really weird. Why is the system set up that way? Is because this was built with Mark. This system was built with Mark II belts, wasn't it? Or Mark III, 270? Yeah, I think it was Mark III with 270. Because it wouldn't have been Mark II. Mark II wouldn't have been able to handle. Mark II is only 60 per minute, and Mark III is 270 per minute. So, yeah, this is built with Mark III belts. I need to completely redo this system again. But yeah, and then obviously the same token when you're coming out, you got 30, 60, 90, 120, and then 180 for what we're doing. So the output belt when you're merging needs to also be the same. I'm kind of doing a little bit of a tutorial here, I guess. I'm not really sure. And then here's all the outputs. So these are all outputs of the iron. So these three lines are more likely coming from back here. I don't remember how I set it up. It was a long time ago. And then this line here and this line here, and it's all split into these belts. Now there's a reason I need this many belts. I actually don't need all of them, but I need most of them because of the amount of iron we're having to push in this system. So that's the iron system. We'll go down underneath the city to show you how this stuff is getting here, how the raw materials are getting here. But first, we'll just show off the smeltery. So this was my more complete, one of my more complete factories right here. Which is the copper factory. Now, we don't need as much copper right now, but we will eventually. We're going to need a bunch of copper ingots for copper powder. So if we just go right on down here, this is the copper factory. Now this looks small. Yes, and it is small, but obviously these are overclocked. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. There we go. So yeah, these are overclocked. So instead of doing 30 per minute, they're doing 75 per minute each. And I think there's 24 of them. So obviously you can calculate that if you like. And that all is also fed from below. So if you feed your machines from below or above, you will have an easier time making things look clean. So this is all below the floor. This is all the raw materials, and all the copper is all below this. It's all below the system. This is why it's kind of raised up looking. But yeah, it's all below this system, and then it comes out and up here onto the roof, which then joins the main belt line. So this is what you'd call a bus. I don't make very good buses, but this is a bus nonetheless. So a bus basically means all materials are in one place going somewhere in that single place. So that's why I wanted to build this upper section. I wanted to build a main bus where I'd have all the materials along this street. Every single thing that either needs to go somewhere or is coming from somewhere that is on this main street gets added to this bus line. So that way it's all kind of in one place. Now obviously the concrete never made it up here. Actually it did. Okay, the concrete did make it up here. But yeah, concrete's one of the first factories I'd done. very early on because we needed concrete for this mega build, obviously. So we needed concrete massively. And I did make stairs, so I made a second floor as well. And you're going to notice that with a lot of these buildings that they have multiple floors um, on them. Obviously, the concrete's got two. The smelteries, not really, wasn't really in the plans to ever make them a second floor because I just wasn't interested because they smoke. So I was just like, you know what, it doesn't make sense to me why we should have a second floor because they smoke. But yeah, these are all my steel factories as well. If I remember, we have, what was it, 36? Actually, we can find out. I keep doing that. Sorry. No. So if we hit the F key and hold down Control, we can actually just let the max or the maximum dismantle limit is 50. But we can let this count for us. So 36 or 36, 16. So 16. And we'll just let this count for us. So I'm using mass dismantle mode to count. Okay, so it's 32, not 36. That's fine. So 32 at 112.5 per minute on every single one of them. So that's pretty insane steel production. And obviously, just like all the others, it joins the main bus line up here. So as we come down the street here, I'm not going to show every factory off like that, by the way. The cool factories we will, but some of them we won't. Like the rod factory, for instance. It doesn't even have a wall on most of it, so we can see. But yeah, see, some of the iron ingots end up getting split off from the main bus, and they go to this building, which is the rod factory. So this is how many rods. Now, the reason I have this many rods, so people are like, well, why didn't you just use the alternate recipes where it phases out a lot of rod production? It's because one of our main rules when we started this series was we're not allowed to use alternate recipes unless the game gives it to us. So if the game gives it to you, either through the research, and I'm not talking about the hard drives, I'm just talking about the straight research. If it gives it through you for the research, or if it gives it to you in one of the tiers, however that works, like the alternate field production, one of the alternate field productions, we're allowed to use that, but we're not allowed to go out, get a hard drive from one of the crashed ships. We're not allowed to go out and get one of the hard drives and then research it and get a new recipe. We're not allowed to do that. We have not done that since day one, so that was one of the rules. And obviously one of the other rules was if our destination was over, I think it was over 500 meters, we had to use a train to transport it. Was it 500 or was it 1,000? I can't remember anymore. We kind of went off the rails. Haha, no pun intended. We kind of went off the rails with that one, with that rule. The rule is still being adhered to, partially. Like the trains had to be 5 cars or longer in order for us to use trains, and that's why we had. If I go into the queue menu, that's why we had progressive trains, was so that we could get locomotives and train stations at the very beginning of the game. So when you first start out, these cost like iron plates and rods and things. They're very cheap, and they only use they use very little power, but are also slow. So right here, so the non-upgraded trains use 5 megawatts of power, so not very much at all, and their max speed is 25 kilometers. That's it. That's the fastest they can go. You could run faster than that, which is insane. So yeah, but that's the rod factory, and see, the rod factory spits the rods back out onto the main bus line. So iron goes in, rods come out. The concrete we couldn't do because that was a raw material, and the other rule was no raw materials on the main bus line. Those have to come in either through belt or by train, but they couldn't come on the main bus line. No raw materials up here. So no iron, no copper, no limestone. Yeah, and as we move down the line here, I'll get better at this as we go along. We'll get faster and faster, don't worry. I won't explain everything. I tend to over-explain things though, so I do apologize. We do have rods going this way, so these rods get made into screws. And if you actually look, we'll count the floors. So here's our screws. We can actually, I haven't been looking at this, but I've got my screw production here. So we've got 1,200 rods per minute coming in, and we've got 400 or 4,800 screws per minute coming out. So that's our max with this current setup. And if we actually look, I think there's 11 floors. Is there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 floors. And the reason there's 12 floors is because you need a lot of screws for this game. You need a lot of screws eventually. This is way overblown. This is blown way out of proportion. We've done a lot more production than you would do in the normal game, so don't let this put you off. You don't actually need this many screws. It's just me. I wanted to produce a certain amount of minutes, so I went to the extreme with a lot of stuff. But there's 10 machines per floor. So you take that 10 times 12, that's 120 screw machines, and I think they're all normal. Yeah, I never wanted to overclock unless I absolutely had to. So, the reason I did it that way, you're just like, oh, you could have overclocked and would have had to build way less. The reason I did it this way is because I wanted tall buildings. This is a city build, if you remember. I wanted tall buildings, and I wanted each building to produce something. It takes in some things, and it produces something else. And if I don't overclock, I have to have more machines. And if I have to have more machines, I have to have more floors. And if I have to have more floors, I get bigger buildings. So this is actually our tallest skyscraper currently, is the screw building. So nothing's overclocked. The only reason I overclocked obviously the ingot factories is because they're only a single floor and there wasn't much room to begin with. So that'd be a case of I have to overclock. There's no real way around this. And it doesn't make sense to make more floors. But yeah, that's our screw factory. And if we come over here where the other iron ingots split off, I believe they go into our plate factory. So here's our iron plates. It takes in 900 ingots per minute, and it spits out 600 iron plates per minute. And there's 2 floors? No, there's 3 floors. Okay. There's 3 floors of that, 10 machines per floor. That's kind of what I went with, just the box standard. Was about 10 machines per floor, unless I needed to do a special layout. So here we've got our copper wire factory. This takes in 900 per minute, spits out 1800 per minute. And these ones are also 10 machines per floor. And obviously you can see I'm feeding them in from above so that there's more walking room around here. Not that's really needed. Obviously these aren't decorated. I'm not really an interior decorator per se, because I don't want to spend hours on one single project if it's not needed. Like these buildings, nobody goes in them really, and I hardly ever go in them, only to get materials. So I'm in and out in a few minutes. I don't even want to be looking at that. Here's the copper sheets. So we got 600 per minute coming in and 300 copper sheets coming out, which I believe there's also 3 floors. Sorry about that. Also 3 floors per minute. And don't worry about this belt system. This is a project that's ongoing. This was temporary so that I could keep another factory going. But eventually these are going to get moved. They actually need to be moved over to the other bus line because these are assembler stuff. These aren't constructors. So yeah, this is what I call constructor town, I guess. So anything along this street, anything over here as well, all the way up to this block here. So this block with this separator. This one foundation separator is all constructors. So any factory that needs a constructor, this is where all that went. So That way we don't overwhelm this too much. That's why these I had these coming down this way, but I needed to move them. I moved some other stuff too as well. I think it was rotors. Can't remember. Yeah. So now we're gonna. So this is where all the steel is going. The tons of steel. So we're pulling in 600 per minute, and we're spitting out 400 steel pipes per minute. These are signs, by the way. You need to have quartz crystal for that. And this one is 1200 per minute, and we're only spitting out 300 beams per minute. That's the max it can do currently, is 300 beams per minute. And I think it's only a single floor, if I remember right. It's only a single floor. That's just because of the slope. Yeah, if we go out here. Yeah, there's actually a bit of slopage happening underneath here. It doesn't look like it, but that's the way it is. It's very strange. There's some strange stuff going on in certain areas. And then over here we got our cable factory. So we take the wire from next door, and we immediately put it into our cable factory. So 1200 wire per minute is spitting out to 600 cable per minute. Now you're probably feeling, if you're not an avid player of Satisfactory, you're probably feeling a little bit overwhelmed. Don't worry about it. Okay. Don't worry about it. This build is completely built way out of proportion from the normal gameplay. This is going above and beyond excessive. So don't worry, you don't need to build all of this in order to play the normal game. I've had a person tell me that oh man, that looks really complicated. It's just like, yeah, but you're also looking at a build that's, I think at the time it was like 500 hours or something like that. It's just like you're looking at a build that's hundreds of hours in the making, plus I went for a city build, which is just a crazy build. And I've been at this for 600 hours so far, so yeah. And if we go one street over, this came in way later, but I'm just going to show you real quick. These are two factories. This one's going to be the silica factory, I think. Yeah, this one's the silica factory. So we take our raw quartz, we turn it into silica, and I just added, because I think I'm going to need another floor, but I wasn't sure. And then over here we've got the quick wire factory, which is going to take caterium ingots and turn them into quick wire, which is used for various things. And then over here, obviously still constructors. And then over here, there's a miner actually built into the side of this building. There's actually two miners in here. That's why the building looks weird. Yeah, there's actually a miner down here mining iron. And if we go over here, yeah, I did put a fence. Over here's the other miner, just built right into the building. This one is taking plastic and turning it into canisters, because we were going to canister up a bunch of liquids and things. Never got around to finishing that project either. There's probably about 20 projects ongoing, but like I said, most of this is incomplete. But yeah, and this is all two-way streets, just because of the tractors. The trucks can fit there too, but yeah, it's okay. So yeah, but after we got this built, or while we were building this, kind of in conjunction, we needed to go to assemblers. And there's a huge uplift in terrain up here. That's why we have to go uphill so much. There's a massive section that's way higher than down there. So we had to do a 2 meter. I never went over a 2 meter slope for the roads. 2 meter, I wanted 2 meter to be the max, so I kind of designed around that. Yeah, over here we got modular frames, which takes 240 rods per minute, 60 reinforced plates per minute, makes 40 modular frames per minute. And obviously this is where it starts to get a little complicated. But once you get into the snowball effect of it, it's actually not so bad. And yeah, over here we've got, this is where the reinforced plates come from. They take the screws, the plates, and they make reinforced plates with that. So over here, I never did mark this one. This is motors, I believe. Yeah, this is motors. So these are electronic motors. And they take rotors and stators and turn them into electronic motors. And continuing back down this road here. This is what I call assembler town, obviously, because it's all the assemblers over here. We've got the stators, which is wire and steel pipe. Then we keep going. And we've got the rotors, which is iron rods and screws. Turns it into rotors as well. Alright. So suddenly we just got shorter, I know. That's because I turned off my special mode. So we're going to walk in here, because this is a really cool factory. At least I think it's a cool factory. You guys can let me know if it's a cool factory or not, but I think this is a really cool factory. So this is our circuit board factory. This was built way later. So this one takes plastic and copper sheets and turns them into circuit boards. But yeah, I made this really cool build. So here is the elevator. Obviously it doesn't work. Elevators don't exist in this game unless you have a mod. I don't really care to have an elevator mod because I'm not going to use it. But yeah, the elevator's all the way to the top. So if you go in this door, I put these beam things. I can't remember what they're called. They're like beam supports for the floor. I stacked them upside down and I inverted them and then stacked them right way up and then inverted them and stacked them right way up. So they look like the elevator springs. So I don't know if you've ever seen the bottom of an elevator shaft without the elevator, but there's, I don't know if all of it, elevators have it obviously, but a lot of elevators have those. They have these massive springs so that the elevator comes down, you know, is coming down the shaft at a high rate of speed. It can catch it. Obviously, you're probably not going to get out of that one with a few broken bones and a massive trip to the hospital. But this is one of the balconies. So you got this little plastic. You got this little glass kind of canopy over the top. You can kind of look over the main, kind of the main hub area. This is the city center. Yeah, let's go ahead and go upstairs, shall we? Just go ahead and run. So yeah, I used ramps. Because ramps just fit better. Also, I wanted as many spirals around the elevator shaft as possible, so I did ramps instead of stairs. Because the stairs go up at a... I think don't the stairs go up like a 4 meter? They're a 4 meter slope or something like that. And the ramps are like a 2 meter slope. Something like that. I know the glass is a little bit trippy to look at. It's very strange how the image does that. But yeah, so the elevator's at the top here. So if we go, I'm just going to look around here. So this is the elevator. This is the gate that comes down. This is the other gate. So this is like a more of a, I guess what you would call a kind of a service elevator. It's not really for people. But yeah, so you come up the elevator and this is what you'd be greeted with. So I wanted to do the circuit boards kind of like some of the real life factories where they see all the materials. You actually can go down the line and you get to see all the stuff as it's being assembled. Obviously they're assembled by robots and not by human hands because we're not steady enough. But yeah, so you got the plastic and the copper sheets coming in, and then you go down this little slope and here's the assemblers. So we're actually we're still above where the assembler would sit. Yep, and it goes into the machine. It actually gets constructed. And then out comes your circuit boards. They look like graphics cards or like unplated hard drives or something. You know, they actually look like hard drives to me. Yeah, actually look like hard drives with the split connector. Because you got to have one for the power connector and one for the SATA cable. That's what it reminds me of. But yeah, these are circuit boards. Some weird stuff. Weird, crazy. Or maybe it's a circuit board pack. I'm not really sure. But yeah, this is my circuit board factory. So you got quite a lot going on in here. And then obviously you got the glass roof. They're really nice. Just natural lighting. Just all this stuff. And actually, if you were to go underneath here, you'd actually see some of the lines of plastic and copper sheets. Stuff like that. You can kind of see them down there with their splitters. and mergers and things. So basically just another manifold setup. So let's go ahead and get on out of here. Could probably jump down the... Can we jump down the elevator shaft? I don't know if I made a way to do that. No, just go here. Be the lowest spot. So if you're wondering why I'm running so fast, is because I got... I actually got legs. Well, I call them legs. They're blade runners. They make you run faster, jump higher. Stuff like that. Yep, that is the circuit board factory. The rotors factory is actually quite tall. I never did. I just have a ladder in here. Look how many floors. It's insane. So yeah, I just designed them all kind of pretty similar. This is smart plates. So this takes reinforced plates and rotors and turns them into smart plates. Which is really strange, but sure. Which that's a pretty early game recipe that you need to get down. So yeah, that's all the ones on that block. So then we continued building up slope. And eventually we hit up here because we needed more room for more factories. So now you've got this little city road here as well. This was going to be a main highway. That's why this is like this. Because the landscape didn't really give me much room for a lot of stuff. So I had to build this double road to make everything fit. And then this was a single road, but I couldn't build the double road continuing across here. Actually don't know where the flying manta ray is at the moment. But the flying manta ray flies along here at a really low level and flies into this kind of outcropping I've made here and flies along and goes over that way. So that's the reason it's built that way, is because of that. Also, I was going to put a factory here, but the manta ray, again, he flies really low over this road as well. So that's the reason. That's the reason why there's a park here. I decided to do a concrete park. Okay. Oh, here comes the flying manta ray. So as you can see, the flying manta ray flies really close. And he can't alter his path, so his path is absolute. So yeah, see him flying right over the road, and then he flies down into this little section. So that's why I can't have the dual road, otherwise he'd run into it. Well, he'd phase through it, because this stuff doesn't exist to him. Yeah, and then that's why this is outcropped like this as well, is because of his wingspan flies over there. So, yep. So he has a flight path, and that's also why these factories don't get a second floor, is because of that as well. I wanted to keep that from happening, keep him from phasing through the buildings, and I think it gives a little bit of an extra challenge to building buildings, is because you gotta make room for flying animals, you know, flying mammals or whatever. So inside this factory, did I not mark all these? I guess I did. Never got around to it. This is, what do you call it? Smart cable? Let's see. Automated wiring, that's it. It's smart cable, whatever. Whatever. So this takes, let's see. Yeah, this takes stators and cable and turns it into the automated wiring. So you need that for one of the phases as well, or, yeah, for one of the phases. And then over here, we should have, there it is. Okay, so this is also for one of the phases. This is framework. I can't, reinforced framework? What is it called? Oops, did that again. I can't remember what this stuff is called. Versatile framework, there we go. So yeah, we got our factories for our versatile framework, which takes beams and in the modular frames, and then turns it into these crazy, this is like high density frames or something, you know, really strong framework as well. Turn that back off. And then over here we've got this is encased industrial beams. There we go. So you got the encased industrial beams. That's concrete and steel beams. which basically just um, coats the steel beams in concrete. So they're like they're reinforced and whatnot. And here's my park. Now this is also a mod, and you're also seeing people standing around here. This is called that's the post people mod. These trees, the rocks, the little floating jellyfish looking things, these little bushes and tufts of grass. This is all a mod, as well as this ground is also fake. It's a grass foundation. So when we lose our mods, we're gonna lose this park. Now you're probably wondering, why is there a park built right here? That's a strange place to put a park. And yeah, you're right. That is a strange place to put a park. But if we go out here, see this rock? This is part of a mod. That's rocks part of a mod. Part of a mod. Trees part of a mod. I can delete all this. This big rock in the center here is part of the landscape, so I can't get rid of it. And it's sticking up pretty dang tall. So I was like, I had the idea. You know what? I'll just make a park. I'll just make a nice park in the middle of in the middle of the industrial complex here. You know, everybody likes to have a park every now and again, right? Yeah, we got ourselves an artificial park. I put these smooth stones so that people can sit on them. Obviously, like I said, these are just a mod, so as well. Nothing to see here. You're probably wondering, oh, it's a red truck here as well. This is one of my friends that played on here for a little bit. Yeah, he likes red, so he's got a red truck. I wonder if he's got anything in here. No, I emptied his truck out a long time ago. So yeah, that's pretty much that street. Let's go back to our circuit boards here. So the circuit boards, obviously, like I said, didn't come in until way later. But this gigantic section where we needed a factory just stayed blank for the longest time. Because I was building a new section. Alright. So then as we fly over the city center, we're going to go to the next... Also, this is the main bus for all the assemblers. That's why I need to move that. I need to move those modular frames over here as well. Don't worry about that blue stuff. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So at this point, I'm thinking we're going to need a fuel... before we go into the manufacturers, we need a way to be able to produce fuel, because we're going to need... we're going to need generators in order to produce power. Oh, I never did show you the power station. So this has been heavily modified a few times. I've rebuilt it. But yeah, we'll go over there. Just fly across the city. Get some nice shots. Some nice views and things. But yeah, I never did show you the factory. Now this factory is not complete. I have been working on it, but it's taken me many hours to redo. And if you watch the series, you'd know why I needed to redo it. This is the major highway. We actually, with this factory, used to sit right here, it used to sit right here. Dang it! There we go again. So that's Alt. So this wall here, that wall right there, was actually right here at one point. That entire wall, all this factory was all over here, and this was a single 2-lane road going up this hill right next to this thing. And actually, this wall right here was actually one foundation over right there as well. It was... yeah, wasn't it like a 3-wide foundation, actually? It was like 3 foundations wide. I can't remember. But yeah, I needed to run the superhighway through here in order to have enough room. Sorry about all the noise, by the way. But yeah, I needed to have enough room. Let's get away from that. Jeez, it's so loud over there. It's just because there's a million trains running around. But yeah, this is the modified factory. This factory actually used to, like this corner here was actually was right around here. and it had to be moved. And it actually kind of encompassed this this rock right here. So yeah, this is actually where we started to get into trains as well. So we've got our coal, one of our coal trains, just flying around the corner. They didn't used to come into this sidewall either. Yeah, here's sort of our first train networks. They used to come in here and then go into here. Yeah, it's all been kind of redone as well. And like I said, it's not complete yet. I had to delete a lot of this factory over here because since this got moved over, a lot of this was inside of the terrain, and I couldn't get it back. And I wasn't going to leave it like that, so I decided to redo it. I'm still working on it, but yeah, we'll eventually get it fixed again. This factory is actually turned off. These are the coal gens. So this is the second power you'll get, the second availability for power, and these when they're maximum, they produce 175, 100 and something odd watts. Where is it? 187.5 watts max to produce, and there's actually 20 of them up there. And then I have my pipe and coal network because it needs both water and coal to run them because they're coal generators. But yeah, they need both water and coal, and I just need to redo the entire setup. Down here won't change, but yeah, up there will. Yeah, so that's basically the entire factory. Not the factory, the entire power station. You got little buffers here for water, and you got coal and stuff like that. So you got these little walkways to tell you where to walk. You don't want to get too close to the power generators. I got the chimneys going through the ceiling because they smoke, obviously. They're coal generators, so that makes sense. They smoke. That's the front door. And then I made a little stairway shaft. What do you call it? Stairwell. There we go. Little stairwell that goes down here. Here's one of the water trains. Those things go so fast. It's crazy how they stay on the track. Okay, and since we're showing that off, I might as well show you how the iron and the copper get here as well. So if we follow this rail down here, this is a service rail. The trains don't use it. It's just for me to get trains on and off different circuits, because there's quite a few different circuits going on. So here we have the copper and the iron stations. So they're 5-car. They bring in the iron and the copper to here, which then goes up here. There's a little bit of iron going that way as well. Yeah, they actually go into this floor, into there's a little cubby up there, like a little cubby space, where the belts run, in order to get to the iron factory. Same with the copper. So here's an example of one of those little cubbies. It's just big enough to fit all these belts. Apparently there's a foundation running through there. Some of this did get redone. If you watch if you can find the episodes where I had like part of this side of the city was had a big old gouge down it because I had moved a lot of stuff. Yeah, that's where all the copper goes, and the iron goes up through there. As well as we've got a coal station down here for the steel, as well as we've got this purple one is quartz, which we don't have use yet. We have a use for it, we just haven't set it up yet. That one's going to be for the silica production. Haven't gotten around to it. But yeah, all these coal lines, plus the coal train, comes into this station here, which goes up to the steel production for steel ingots. Because you need coal and you need iron. There's the iron train there. And then over here we've got the train network for the limestone. So it's the limestone factory. This is just below the limestone factory. Well, kind of. Yeah. And it goes up over here. If you're this little door here, this is just more iron for the steel factory. So we've got a couple iron nodes in here, kind of all by themselves. This little room for our iron. And like I said, a lot of this is not complete yet, so you're going to see a lot of stuff that just, I don't know, looks weird. It is pretty crazy. But yeah, that's basically that. We'll show you the rest of the network here a little later. But yeah, if we go up this ramp right here, and then along this walkway, then we follow this all the way up. Now we're back out on the street. So it's like a little subway tunnel entrance for the pedestrians. Yeah. There's quite a lot going on in just this little section of the city, definitely. See, all these are smoking. Even though they're turned off, they still smoke, which is, yeah, I'd imagine that's probably just a bug. But yeah, this superhighway didn't exist for the longest time either. So let's catch us a ride here. Got it. Catch a ride on the coal train, baby. Woo woo. Pretty sure you guys can name that reference. That video game reference. But yeah, we needed coal and water for our power station. So I built this rail network, which brings in coal and water. And we're going to take this train all the way down there. And whatnot. So, and also this is also our rail yard. So we've got two different rail yards for trains to store trains in. So we go down this massive 2-meter slope. Into one of our mega train stations. That's not really that mega. Just couldn't get out. That's really loud. That's really loud for me. Turn it down a bit. But yes, this is the coal station, so this is where it picks up all of its coal. And how it's getting that coal is there's a couple of mines. This is actually a really great spot if you're in the grasslands and you're in this area. Right next to this big lake, because you'll spawn in somewhere around here. If you go north and you find this massive lake, it's inside of a crater. As you can see, there's like a crater-like area. If you go down here, this actually has 4 spots for coal. A few of them you can't access until you have explosives, but you've got a coal here, a coal there, and two coals on this side as well. Obviously there's a lot more trees here, but I've removed them all. And see, that's one of the ones that you need to access via explosives. But yeah, there's a lot of coal here, which is amazing. There's also more coal up here. Obviously you're not going to come up here, but if we follow this little route, oh, it's so much nicer up here, so much more quiet. Just get rid of that. What happened? My computer went wonky there for a minute. Okay. Leave it in, leave it in. Yeah, I made this little support system. This pulls coal from, I think they call it the Red Forest, or what do they call this area? I don't use this area. Just mainly just because this area is just a pain in the butt to deal with. This is one of the higher level areas. There's a lot more monsters, or a lot more enemies to deal with. Yeah, it's very pretty up here, though. And you've got the one coal station. I think this coal station got moved at some point. I don't know if it was update 7 that did it. I know they were doing a rework in this area. But yeah, that coal got moved. It's no longer here, but my coal, um, my my coal miner still produces coal, even though there's not any coal there anymore. Yeah, really cool area. There's our massive city. There's a shot of the city from this side. Really crazy. Yeah, there's the two massive rail yards, like I said. So the right side rail yard, the one on our right, that one stores 5-car trains, and the one on the left stores the 10-car trains. So we're just gonna go down here. I'm gonna show you where the water comes from as well. So we're gonna go all the way down here. Down we go. So if you follow this rail line right here, this train station's actually been redone. Oh, let's get out of the way. Woof! The train is going, man. Flying. If we follow this rail line down here, we go into the water collection station. Obviously, there's a little door to go outside. Yeah, this is the water collection station where all the water gets brought in by train as well as these pipes do go up to the factory so that we don't have to just rely on the trains, because water is a little more fiddly than raw material. But yeah, so all the water pipes that come along here underneath the bridge, and you just walk along this walkway. And here's our water collection station. This is a water-based one. So rather than collecting the water just kind of out in the middle of the lake and bringing it into the station, I decided to build a building for it. So just go down here, just make her trips a little bit faster. And if we go in here, this is our water collection facility. This is one of them. Anyway, we got a second one we just finished a couple of episodes ago. Yeah, this was the very first one. This one serves just that power station. Yeah, and as you can see, there's little catwalks right above the water here, and whatnot. Now, if you go through, that other door leads over here. So here's the pumps. So the water pipes actually go outside the building, which I thought was a pretty cool design choice, is to have the pipes going outside of the building rather than clambering up the wall on the inside. And then they come outside, and then they come through the wall here and into these massive storage tanks. So these ones hold, was it 4,800 cubic meters, something like that? Yeah, I think this game is in cubic meters when it goes liquid. It's in cubic meters, but I always like to call them gallons because, I'm American. But anyway, so yeah, that's pretty much that. It pulls it from there, gets on the train there, and then around we go. Sorry if I'm moving the camera too fast. But yeah, so you're probably wondering why there's a million trains over here. Also, what are these signs about? So these signs, they show the different materials for the different trains. The reason that there's more trains here is because we're getting ready to lose mods for just a little bit when Update 8 goes stable, or when it goes to the early access branch, which is what the main branch of the game is on. There's two branches. You got the early access branch, which is what most people play on. That's the normal version. And then you've got the experimental branch, which is where they put the updates so that they can have players test their updates and report back with bugs and stuff like that. So they do it a really cool way. I mean, obviously they fix the bugs and they test themselves, but they're not able to test every combination of all the hardware, all the different types of PCs that people have, and so they just let the players do it. And I think that's pretty cool. And it's all open, so you can just change to experimental whenever you want, which is really nice. But yeah, all the trains that are currently in circulation, the ones that are actually running, they're all modded trains from this mod, the upgraded trains. But these trains, these ones, are all the fix-it approved trains. So these are all the base game, or the main game trains. So when we lose progressive trains, when we lose this mod, we're going to lose all the trains that are currently in circulation. So that's why there's all these non-modded trains as backups. So that when we lose these trains that are currently running, and we got backups, and we can just set them back on. We can set them on their path. They're actually, I believe they're already set. I believe all of these are already ready to go. All I got to do is just turn them on. Yeah, pretty crazy rail yard. That was obviously built way later as well. Okay, so now that we've done that main power station over there, let's go ahead and fly back over here. And this is where we're pretty deep into assemblers, and we moved on to needing to start building manufacturers, which is the final factory, the late game factories, which take a lot of power in order to make stuff. So you need a lot of power, and that those coal stations are not going to do it. As you've seen, they were doing what 137 megawatts or something like that. Very low wattage, and at their base, without being overclocked, they're 75. So that's not going to do very much. Otherwise, you need like a million of them in order to produce it. So we needed to be able to produce fuel. So I went to the main recipe, which was oil. So you turn crude oil into fuel. I can't remember what I made first. I think I made the train station that is out there currently. But that's okay. We'll just go ahead and show off this. So this is one of my mega train stations. This one, both of these are 10 cars train stations. So we've got the crude oil station that brings the oil from where we're collecting it all the way over here, and then that takes the oil to various places wherever oil needs to be. And then we've got the refueling station, which is the fuel. So when you take the crude oil, you turn it into fuel. That's what this fuel station does. And this fuel train takes it to our fuel power plant to burn the fuel and turn that fuel into energy to power our setup, which is what we currently have. We're getting close to doing nuclear, though. We're getting very, very close to that. So can't wait for that power system. That's going to be way more efficient, but also more expensive and way more complicated. What did we just pull in here? Was it the fuel train or the oil train? It was the oil train. Okay, we're going to take the oil train. We're going to take a little ride. Take a little ride on the wild side. So since this is a 10-car train station, there's a lot of hills in our network. I decided to put 2 engines on here. This actually does work when you put 2 engines going the same direction. When you go to move the train, or the AI goes to move the train, it will actually use both engines for power. So that actually does work. Dang it, there I go again. Yeah, you can honk the train with left click. It's a perfect horn. It's the exact freaking freight train horn, which is perfect. So this is that's our packing facility, by the way, incomplete. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and ride our train all the way out to where we're picking up oil, and then we'll come back here. Yeah, and we're going to show the entire route, so don't worry, you won't miss anything. Because this is a city tour, this is not a normal episode. So, off we go! Got this long freaking bridge that goes over a massive freaking, like, crater in the ground. It's crazy. And then once we come off of here, this is where it ends, obviously. Incomplete. Don't really have a way to build any more road currently. I'm working it out, though. Eventually we'll have some road out here. Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, this is how I do my rail network. So you always want to elevate your train lines above the ground, at least a little bit, so that the lines don't end up going into the ground, which does happen quite often. So if you elevate your trains just a little bit, you can get away with not having to have your lines going through the ground. as well as trying to follow the terrain with train lines is really difficult to do, and you'll end up with a lot of bumps and stuff like that to make it to where it'll make the train line look like it was built by a madman that didn't know what he was doing. I've tried. It is very difficult to do. It's better just to elevate them off the ground, and then you can control the slopes, you can control the curves, and how the train line moves through the world. You get a lot more control over it if they are elevated. So, going into an intersection block here, which goes into a curve. Down we go, and here we are at the fuel platform. So I'm actually going to halt this train so that we have a ride back, because I'd rather not have to go all the way back. Wait for it to fully stop. Start docking. It's docking. We're going to turn off self-driving so that we can get out. Yeah, so this is our fuel station. This is actually the first thing I built when I got out here. Or one of the first things that I built was this massive oil collection platform. So and here it is. This massive freaking build for just to fit a 10-car train station in it. It's pretty darn insane. There's one of the coal trains. That coal train serves the steel production. So that's where that train's going. There's actually coal over here. We'll visit this so we don't have to come back out here. Just real quick. Got a little miner in there inside the train station, partially. And we've got a couple more miners out here. These are just collecting coal for the steel production. And this is one of the designs you can do for doing. If you want your trains to be able to change elevation very quickly, but the train line's not allowing you to do it, you can build a spiral like this, and that'll allow you to change elevation without having to take up a whole crap load of room somehow. Let's see, he's going to go through here. And just right up the slope he goes. And I also designed this in a way to where the train doesn't have to go down this line and make the loop. It can just come out of the spiral and go right back. So a lot shorter path there. Okay, so let's fly over here. Yeah, just this massive, basically train station elevated way above the water. That was pretty cool to elevate it this high, though. I was going to build a massive oil platform where we would we'd bring all the fuel here and you'd have a bunch of storage and stuff, but the build was getting way too big. So I decided just to leave it here. So yeah, when you walk outside the train station, you're going to come out this little door, and then you're going to go down this spiral staircase to this bridge. This is where all oil's coming in. To this massive collection facility. So I thought I wanted to do a few different buildings. So I made a collection facility, built this. So when you go in here, this is where all the oil's being collected before it's sent to the train station to then be trained off. I was going to say shipped off, but I wasn't going to, that doesn't really work for a train, I guess. Trains aren't really water based. And then we've got all the oil collection going into this building. So you see all the different oil lines here going out to these little buildings out here. These are little, this is where we're pulling the oil out of the ground. So if we actually go into here, this is one of the machines. Kind of put little walkways and stuff on it, so it kind of looks a little better. And then the oil I just wanted to build little houses for them. Thought that was pretty cool. And again, as a reminder, you don't have to do this. This is completely 100% unnecessary, but I wanted to do it anyway. So yeah, another little building there. We'll go over here. This building's bigger because it's got two of them in it, and I didn't want to build two separate buildings right next to each other. So I thought I'd just do the one big building for all the oil collection here. Missed the door. And then we'll fly up here. And this is this walkway goes all the way up and follows to 2 more places where we're collecting oil. And this is we're still not pulling enough oil for our entire city yet. We still need more. I'm working on it. Don't worry. I am working on it. So yeah, and then these this little collection of barrels and containers and stuff. This is all modded. This is all mod stuff, so you won't see this in the original game. But thanks to Andre Aquila, I was able to. He made a mod that's the. Where is it? The decorations mod. Nope, not that one. It's the other one. Where's the other decorations mod? More deco. There we go. More deco. It's just more decorations. So this is where you'd find all the stuff. Again, this is a mod that you have to have. But allows the placement of tons of different things, including these barrels and stuff like that. I wanted to make this look like a, I don't know, just kind of a facility where they collect oil and maybe they send it off to the lab to get it tested or whatever. Just different kinds of little things. I needed space to fill, and I filled it with a mod. Obviously, when I lose my mod, all this stuff goes away. So it is what it is. But yeah, all that gets collected, goes to the main collection facility, which then it gets, all these pipes then get merged into 4 different pipes, and that goes up to the main station, which then gets split and goes to the different stations to then be put on the train. We'll fly back over here, hop back on our train. And I'm going to turn on self-driving mode, which is the AI. So, because the AI will be able to control the signals and stuff like that. Where, as a player, driving a train on a rail network that has self-driving trains, you risk a crash with another train. So, if you just let the AI drive, it's just much better of a way. Of a system for you. So yeah, you're gonna notice a couple different spirals in here. We'll go to that rail network eventually as well. I can't believe this is gonna be a several-hour video. It's gonna be crazy. You guys already know how long it is. I'm just along for the ride, haha. So we got another spiral, like I said. I needed to change elevation very quickly right here, and I didn't want to make a massive hill. That went up because 2 meters is the maximum steepness for a train track slope. And there goes the water train. We're gonna have to wait for it to clear the block before we get to go. There it goes. And again, like I said, just let the AI drive. It'll be much better. Plus, I don't have to control the switches either. The train will just do that for me. And we'll get back on our rail network and we'll head back to the city on this train line. Pretty cool though. And the area here, the reason it's so squiggly right here is because I wanted a bridge that went over this little gap. And hopefully the game doesn't crash. For some reason, sometimes my game crashes when it rains. I think it's due to mods, because every time it crashes, I see mention of it. Alex's mod, which is the smart mod. See mentions of that in there with errors and stuff. For some reason, it has trouble with rain. I'm not really sure why. That's okay though. It's a mod, so yeah. I think as long as I'm not using the F key, or I'm not placing foundations or placing stuff or upgrading anything, I think we'll be fine. But if we do crash, obviously, I'll have to restart the game, unfortunately. Just the way it is. Been having that crash recently, I don't know why. I'm not really sure, because obviously crash reports are freaking... It's like reading hieroglyphics. If you don't know what you're looking at, you're never going to know what you're looking at. You need to pay a freaking professional to read them. this is like error, and then it shows a bunch of words, and none of it makes a sentence. It's just code, and it's like, what the heck? And we'll get to that. Also, we'll get to that tower in a minute as well. That we built. So that tower has no other purpose other than to look cool. I wanted a tower, so I made an oil tower to collect oil. So we have, with that tower, we have such an oil buffer that this train can turn on for probably around 50 hours, 50 in real life hours, before we have to send the train out to get more oil. There's so much oil storage up there. It is absolutely insane. Just crazy. And to the left and around, and all those storage tanks right there next to the train station, those are all fuel storage. So this is where we're producing fuel. We got two different ways of making fuel. We've got heavy oil residue into fuel, and we've got the crude oil into fuel as well. That's what all the purple pipes are. Those are heavy oil residue. That's the color of the fluid that I made the pipes that color. Okay, so now you have an idea of where we're getting our oil. Also, why are those getting wet? I was gonna say, I don't know why it's showing those as wet. We're inside. And we have a roof over our head. So yeah, we had a couple different reasons for collecting fuel, collecting oil. Obviously, the crude oil goes into these different, these various factories. We'll go into here. This is the main entrance, essentially, with all the pipes above. So you got fuel. So we got 1,200 cubic meters per minute coming in, and we've got 1,600 cubic meters of fuel coming out there. But that's also with both of these. So. We've also got 1,200 cubic meters of heavy oil coming in as well. And this is polymer resin, this blue stuff, and it produces, so the byproduct of making fuel out of crude oil, it makes a byproduct of polymer resin. And we need to do something with that polymer resin. So currently we're just sinking it, which is basically just making tickets, putting points towards tickets. So yeah, both of these factories are just clones of each other, so we'll just look at one. So on the right side here, this is turning our oil, our heavy oil residue into fuel. And currently it's not running, and that's not good. Oh, is the valve's off? No, one's running. Yeah, one's maxed out. This fuel pipe is empty. Hold on. This was one of the newer systems I had developed. I might have missed a pipe or something. Something's not pulling. And that one's empty. That one's full. That one's full. So this one right here is empty. Wonder why. A little bit of phlegm there. Still got phlegm. See, are all these pumps running? No, this one's not running. That one's full. That one's kind of full. That one's full as well, but it's not going anywhere. Okay, there might have been a bug. Let's see if we can find it. Okay, that one's full. Yeah, it's this one, isn't it? Or is it this one? No, it's this one. So it's getting here. But it's not getting past that. Where's it going? It's not going here. Okay, like I said, there might be a bug going on. This can sometimes happen with pipes. It just... those things. Is that working? So since I replaced that, got my colors here. Heavy oil. Oops. There might be a flow problem somewhere. So yeah, it's just not... This one, it's getting it here, but it can't get past this. You just need to replace this. Change that to horizontal to vertical. What was that pipe shape? Hey, I think I fixed it. Never mind, I don't think I fixed it. Oh, wait. Nope. Hey, we're getting oil in here, though. So it is going. Yeah, it's this pipe here. Never mind, I didn't. I thought I fixed it. Sometimes that's all you need to do. What's this? Now the flow rate just sucks with this pipe. What the? It's just so empty. See if we can spot the problem further back. Just follow this pipe down and around. Sorry about this. I didn't expect to have any issues. Oh, we're running extremely low. So you see how these pipes don't have anything on them? They're just a pipe. This is your standard pipe. On these pipes, these ones have indicators. We're really low on heavy oil. Okay. Well, guess we're gonna have to get more oil coming in. Just sticks. That might be too steep still. It's too steep still. This is just temporary, by the way. Temporarily permanent. There we go. Start turning on the oil again. I don't know why that's not producing like it was before. Strange. Just, oh, that's a splitter. Okay, that's not gonna work. That one's going at max speed anyway, pretty much. But over here we've got the two. So both oil factories will start turning on here. Hopefully that'll catch us back up. I wonder why we ran out of heavy oil. That's it's kind of crazy. That means we're not producing as much fuel as we should be. That's alright though. We got backups. Wonder how full these are. Check our fuel. Oh, we're good. We're still producing more than enough fuel. No, we're good. What I might do is I might turn off the usage of our heavy oil real quick. Do that. So what we do is we come in here. Oops. And we turn off our valves. Yeah, so basically what that's going to do is it's going to fill up the pipes, but it's not going to go past these valves. Yeah, this side's getting plenty. That's okay. We'll let it stock up. Just real quick. And just rely on straight crude oil for right now. But we got plenty of backups, so we're good. We'll just let this whole system fill. But yeah, that's basically, so one side is heavy oil, the heavy oil residue turning it into fuel, and then the other side is crude oil turning that into fuel as well. That's what all these oil pipes are. So also these oil pipes not only need to be making fuel to turn the fuel into energy, to turn the energy into more stuff, or use it for more stuff. This oil used to carry on through here, and this used to be a park. but it wasn't a very good park. I hated it. It was horrible. So the oil goes here. This is where it goes. So these black buildings with the yellow stripe, these represent the rubber. So you've got rubber here. This factory, this back one, no longer makes rubber. We repurposed it, but this one makes rubber. So it takes our crude oil, turns it into rubber, and then all the rubber comes out here as well. And then this blue one with the black stripe, this is plastic. So you take your crude oil and you turn it into plastic. And obviously the byproduct of both of these is the heavy oil residue. So you need to do something with your heavy oil residue. We're not producing on this side. No, that's fine. That one's, the line's backed up anyway. This one, so yeah, see it takes the crude oil, turns it into plastic, turns it into heavy oil residue. And you need to do something with that, otherwise it's going to stock up. So two ways you can deal with it, or a few different ways you can deal with it. You can either use it like I am, turning it into fuel, or you could try to put it into a whole bunch of storage to try and store it up for later. Or if you want to get rid of it permanently, there's a couple different ways you can do that. You can either go here and you can either select this fluid buffer, this pipe network, and you can flush the system, which will flush. If you pick this buffer, it'll flush this buffer right here of heavy oil residue, making it completely empty. Or you can flush the entire pipe network. That's also a way. Or if you want to turn it into tickets, what you can do is you can package it with those canisters we were showing earlier. So you take the fluid and you take those canisters and you put it through one of these. This is a packager, and it takes the liquid plus the canisters and turns it into packaged stuff. And then you can take, say, that heavy oil residue. You can take the barrels of heavy oil residue and put it into the sink, and that will turn it into points for tickets. And then you turn that tickets into upgrades or quality of life changes, stuff like that. So we got two different plastic factories, this one and that one. We used to have two different rubber factories, but like I said, that one's been repurposed back there because we didn't need as much rubber as both of these buildings would have brought us. So yeah, and the oil, like I said, the oil used to go through here, but now goes through up here. So you to enter here, you enter through this door and you go up the winding staircase. I like my winding staircases. Hey, they look cool, okay? Look at all these oil pipes. It's crazy. Let's see if we can get in here. This is a really cool thing we built. This was just an art piece, just for fun. I made a spiral staircase out of foundations, using the micromanage mod. And then here's all of our oil pipes coming down. So what happens is all of the oil that comes out of that train station, it actually doesn't go there to those oil pipes. There's actually a hidden compartment underneath the train station where all the oil gets stored up. So we have plenty of buffers. So all the oil comes down from the train station, goes into the system, goes underground, right there. Follows this sidewalk, and then it goes into here, and then it gets pumped up from the outside. As you can see, these pumps are carrying the fluid all the way to the top of this factory, and then it goes into the top here. So that's the top. Looks pretty cool, doesn't it? I like it anyway. So yeah, that's how the oil gets in here, and then there's storage tanks inside. So basically, instead of a water tower, it's an oil tower. Like I said, we're going to build a water tower eventually too. I want to do that as well. Oh yeah, we got an oil tower for right now. So yeah, and all these pipes, these are the pipes coming down from the tower. So fluid mechanics, the real life fluid mechanics does play a role in this game. If you bring fluid to a high point, and then you feed it to a lower point, the fluid will actually use gravity to flow downhill. So fluid physics does actually work like it would in real life, which is really cool. But if we go all the way to the top here, here's our oil storage. So again, remember, these are 4,800 cubic meters a piece, times whatever number. So yeah, just went absolutely nuts with this one. Pretty cool art piece, though. Really cool art piece. So yeah, that's pretty much that. And then, like I said, that carries them all down, goes out this wall, and then goes over here. Goes out this wall, down here, and then to these buildings. And it doesn't need a single pump to do that. It needs pumps to go up to bring it up there. But once it's up there, no matter where I pipe this oil, as long as the oil doesn't get to this point, I can put it anywhere, and it'll be at max flow rate. So because of gravity. So yes, that's pretty much that. Oh, did I show you the insides of these? So yeah, this is the crazy factory. All of these are refineries that'll take things and turn them into other things as well. So it's another type of factory, essentially. Okay. So, and also while I was in the midst of building that, I built a racetrack, just out of left field. I built a racetrack because I couldn't use this space for factories because of the massive arch and the pieces of rock sticking up out of the ground, plus just the placement of stuff. It just wasn't working. So I made a racetrack instead. I used the landscape to make a racetrack. An elevated racetrack. It's not all flat. So yeah, let's go for a ride, shall we? Obviously, it's not finished. I'm still working on it. Let's go ahead and hop on in. Yep, this does have fuel. So yeah, these are the Explorers. These are fast. That's why I use them here. But I am going to back up to show you. I had the start-finish line here. So I made this myself out of signs. You're probably wondering how I did this. It's actually pretty darn clever. I must toot my own horn here. I played around, and this is what I ended up with. Obviously, these are kind of just painted on things, but it made it look like a start-finish line, so I thought that was really nice. But these signs, these are actually signs. As you can see, these are a square sign, 1 meter. So if you look at this green sign, the reason it's so bright is because the emission strength is up to 3, and I put this matte finish on it so that it's not shiny with the sun hitting it. But these ones up here, the reason they look like they're off or dim is because the emission strength is gone. So if I put the emission strength up to 3, see, it's now lit up. Same with 2. And see, any emission strength would have made it look like it was on. Well, maybe 1 wouldn't have been so bad, but I decided to turn them off. It just looks the best. Also, doing the dark color, this yellow, this is what the actual yellow is actually extremely dark. So it makes it look like the bulb is out, but the glass is what emits the colored light rather than the bulb itself. So the old-fashioned lights. Oops, let's change that emission strength. Back to end off. There we go. So it looks like, like you would see a traditional stoplight that isn't, LED or anything. That when the light is off, you still see the color if you look close. So that's what I was going for. And I'm a big racing fan, so I know the layout of the colored lights. They put yellow on top, green in the middle, and then they've got, sometimes they'll have 2 or 3 rows of red, sometimes they'll have 5 rows of red, which is really crazy. Yeah, we got the green light, so let's go. It's still not finished yet, obviously. I still need to figure out how I'm going to do this type of stuff. Yeah, it has a nice curved hill. If you want to know how I did this curved hill, I use the road tool mod, and I've showed many different examples of how to do stuff like this. So throughout my series, maybe eventually I'll do a tutorial on how to do that. Yeah, just a nice little racetrack. Got some hairpin bends here. Now the reason the Explorer is the tires are bumping and bouncing around so much is because the edges of the foundations are actually catching the tires slightly. It doesn't slow you down at all. It just visually doesn't look great. Obviously, you can see like bumps and stuff. But it's supposedly update 8 is supposed to be smoothing out driving on foundations. Yeah, I'll show you. Even if you're level, this is perfectly level, no mods. See how bumpy it is? Perfectly straight foundations, connected as if the game intended, and it still is bumpy and crazy. It's just because the edges of the foundations, it's very sensitive to those edges. But supposedly, like I said, update 8 is supposed to be fixing that to be a lot more smooth over the foundations. So, of driving on them, because many people do what I do. They build roads. There's the flying manta ray. I also made it so that it does go over the track properly. Yeah, so that's basically the racetrack. I also built this just kind of in conjunction with all of this as well. We've got this tunnel here. We've got the super highway. So when you see 2 lanes with 2 train tracks in the middle and then 2 more lanes and sidewalks either side, that's the super highway. It's supposed to go all the way around the city, around the edges of the city. Yeah. So while we're on the topic of oil, all that heavy oil residue is going into these storage tanks. So it's being pumped up, and it goes all the way up to the top, or some of it does. It splits off. This took a long time to build, by the way. It was crazy, insane, but it did manage to get done because I wanted an industrial look of like a bunch of these fluid buffers stacked on top of each other, which they do stack nicely. As you can see, like this fluid buffer, it's got this little hump on the bottom of it, and then the top of this one's got that same little inverted hump, or same type of hump that's slightly smaller, so it fits in. So they do stack really nicely, and then it all goes down here and obviously goes into these pipes and whatnot. So that's pretty much the entire oil system. So now that we've talked about the fuel, turning oil into fuel, now we'll go take a look at the fuel station. As well. So that was kind of the next goal, was to, now that we were producing fuel, or while we were producing fuel, was to get a proper fuel station up and running so that we could have a whole lot more power than we were currently getting with the coal power generation. So we're just going to go ahead and go in there. I keep forgetting to turn off the stupid UI. It's what it is. And by the way, if you want to know how I'm doing what I'm doing currently, which is flying, is there's a mod out there called the Pack Utility mod that allows you to enter commands. I only use it for the screenshots that I usually get, like the screenshots from being way up in the air and stuff. That's the whole reason I got it, was so I could fly and get screenshots, without having to build massive towers like other games. Somebody suggested it to me, and I was just like, "Ooh, I have a perfect plan for that." So that's what I use it for, or for videos like this where I just fly around and show you stuff, and whatnot. So yeah, this is the fuel station. This is where all the fuel gets dropped off. This wall used to be here until I moved it out. So I needed more room, so I decided to do that. But yeah, all the fuel goes into the ground as well, and there's a bunch of fuel tanks stored underneath here. So I have to keep pulling up the UI in order to access my tools. So yeah, you see these two are not painted, just for me to do this. Now, all the fuel is stored down here, and then we've got pumps running and noisy and stuff into our fuel generators. So these fuel generators, I believe, are inline sixes, but the pistons, the way the pistons are working, is incredibly strange. Not like any type of motor I've ever seen, but they remind me. They look like inline threes, but I think they're inline sixes because they got pistons either side, pumping all the fuel or compressing all the fuel, turning it into power. So this is what the fuel generators produce. When fully overclocked, a fuel generator produces 375 megawatts apiece, and we've got 20 of the suckers. So we're producing a lot of power. So if we go back out the tunnel here, actually, let's go out the front door, or the somewhat door I was trying to make but never finished it. Whichever. So yeah, this is new. I just done this a few hours before I started recording. So all of this right here, well, not all of it, but some of it, these are called, what are they called? Power storage. Yeah. So these store power so that if you ever run out of being able to produce power, or if you overdo your power here. So if we go to one of these, you'll see there's 3 different bars here. You've got your max consumption, which is if everything was running all at once, every single machine, every single train, every single miner, just everything was all running all at once, it would take this much power to power it, which you can see down here in the blue number. That's what this top bar is, but we're not actually using that. Our current consumption is in the orange here, which is around 5,500 megawatts, 5,600 megawatts, probably jumping to 57 occasionally. And then our current capacity for what we're actually producing, our production and our capacity are the same on this level, is 7,500 megawatts. So that's the most before we trip a breaker. So if we consume more than 7,500 megawatts at any point, it will strip a breaker in the entire system, the entire city, all the trains, everything shuts down. The way I have it set up, because I have a centralized power station, and then everything gets power from that, rather than having multiple power stations. I'd rather have a centralized one. It's much nicer, much easier to keep track of. But if you have these power storage, right here, as you can see, this is completely full. If we were to overdo our 7,500 megawatts, obviously it's kind of jumping up and down all of a sudden. That's weird. But yeah, if we overdo our capacity, like we consume more than 7,500 megawatts, these will go into drain mode and start draining power. These are basically like giant batteries. So if we lose power at any point, these will start draining power to keep the system running, the entire city. Or if we end up overdoing what we're actually able to produce, these will go into energy drain mode, and I'll start draining the batteries. Depending on how much power you're pulling out of them is how much charge they're going to hold. So, and these hold 100 megawatt hour. Or that's the stored charge or whatever. It's 100 megawatts per hour. I'm guessing what that is. The charge rate, obviously, it's 0 because it's at 100%. When these charge, it'll give you a general time of when they're charging. When they're discharging, they'll give you a general time on how long they have before they drain completely. So, you know, it's a buffer for power, basically. So I got all the pipes here. So that's basically that's where we're at on power. Obviously, we're down a lot more because the coal generators are all off currently, because I was completely rebuilding that factory. So now that we have fuel as a power source, we get a lot more power that way, things like that. Now we can move on to our manufacturers. So we started building the manufacturers, which will produce the more difficult recipes, the ones that take 3 items or more. So a constructor takes 1 item and turns it into 1 item. It takes whatever item and turns it into whatever item for that recipe. An assembler takes 2 items and turns it into 1 item. The refineries will take 1 item and turn it into 1 item, or it'll take 2 items and turn it into 1 item, or it'll take 2 items and turn it into 2 items. Or it'll take 1 item and turn it into 2 items. You know, just whatever. It just depends on the recipe. So, like this, these things here, they take the crude oil. They only take the crude oil and turn it into rubber and oil residue. Or, like these factories, will take 2 things and turn it into 2 things. So, here's an example of that. So this is how you make a luminous solution. You take bauxite and water, turn it into a luminous solution, you get a byproduct silica. And then you take that aluminum solution, and you take aluminum solution and coal, turn it into aluminum scrap, and you get a byproduct of water. So that's basically that. A manufacturer will take 3 items or 4 items and turn it into 1 item. So, for example, a computer takes circuit boards, cable, plastic and screws, and turns it into a computer. So this is one of the first manufacturers we built alongside my buddy. He was building this factory setup. I let him have free reign. He could build whatever he wanted. This is what he did. So, yeah. This one takes 4 items. The modular frames, the steel pipes, the encased industrial beams and screws, turns it into a heavy modular frame. So that's an example of 4. That's an example of 4. I think this is an example of 3. So these are modular engines. They take motors, rubber, and smart plates and turn it into the modular engine. So it's either going to be 3 inputs or 4 inputs for a manufacturer that turns it into 1 thing. And then we've also got over here, we go into this spot, we've got adaptive control units, which take the automated wiring, the circuit boards, heavy modular frames, and the computers. So that factory and this factory also feed this factory. So yeah, it does get pretty crazy, but at this point you're probably spent in an average game. I would say you're probably around 50 to 100 hours into the game itself, depending on how fast you're going and whatnot. So, and that depends on the research as well. If you're doing a bunch of research items, if you're trying to get shop items, stuff like that. It all depends on how you want to play. It is how you want to play. You can play however you like. The only thing that continues the game is obviously doing the phases, which you see in the top right. So this is phase 4. This is the final phase currently in the game, and I'm 600 hours into it. That doesn't take 600 hours to get there, but I've done such a massive build, such a crazy build, that it's taking me that long to get there. So you got your different milestones, your different tiers in here, which will make your life easier. Some of them are required, but not all of them. Same with the research. Some of the research is required, a little bit, but most of it is not. Same with the shop items. The shop items, nothing in the shop is required to complete the game. You can these just make your life easier. Some of them are decorative. Like that, and like the wall materials, foundation materials, these foundations, they're all pretty much decorative. Some of this does make your life a little easier, like some ceiling mounts, some wall mounts, some conveyor floor holes and pipes, and just kind of crazy stuff. So yeah, and then obviously to get tickets, so in order to buy stuff in the shop, you need these tickets, which I have 83 currently. So what you do in order to get tickets is you need to take stuff and put it into this sink here. So this is the awesome sink, and that's how you get your tickets. And every item has a point value assigned to it. So when it's put into the sink, not every item. There are a few items that can't be sunk, but most items have a sink value. So like here, I'm sinking rubber and plastic. in order to keep producing the heavy oil, residue, the purple stuff. I'm also sinking that in these two different sinks because I need to continue producing it. And since I'm producing fuel with crude oil that produces a byproduct of polymer resin, I'm not using the polymer resin, and I don't want it to build up in the machines where I can't produce fuel anymore. So I'm putting it into these sinks here. So yeah, like I said, there's many ways to play this game. You play how you want, and depending on how you play is how long the game's going to take you to complete. I guess Satisfactory is not really a game of completion. It's more of a game of creation, I would say. I'd say Satisfactory is a big creation game where you just create whatever you want. You're given a small set of rules that you more or less follow, and you're given tools to complete the goals, and you complete those goals however you like. You can be as efficient or as inefficient as you want. Does not matter. The game does not care. You play how you like. You don't even have to complete the phases. You could just build in the first phase and just build out of that. But completing the phases will get you better stuff. So do keep that in mind. So also we got the superhighway going down here. Like I said, this is not complete yet. Oh, I forgot to show you guys the tunnels. We'll go into the tunnels over here. So I've got a bunch of train tunnels where so over there is where we're mining copper. And that brings a train line up into the city from over here as well. So let me show you the tunnels just real quick. Let's go ahead and fly through there. I keep forgetting to turn off that stupid UI. So this is where the train meets the train tunnel. So I built all these train tunnels. So basically the idea is the trains are underground. They're subway trains. They're subway freight trains. That's basically the idea. So the copper comes in here, goes up this hill, and then there's a bypass rail that goes by the iron station. So we have two stations collecting iron. This is the second one in the train line. But we have the bypass rail so that the copper train can just go right on by without having to stop and wait for the iron train to get loaded. But yeah, this is basic ideas. These are just subway tunnels for the train. If I had a better plan, I probably would have built these a lot better, but these was kind of just an afterthought. Yeah, so these two train lines, they obviously go down that way to the two stations we showed you. Not very exciting, but we'll show you this. This was actually some of my very first train lines as well. This iron train station, this was the first one I ever built, and it's never been moved. I don't think so anyway. See, all the iron comes in through here. Actually don't have a door to get out there. But yeah, just imagine some miners on top of some iron nodes. There you go. Yep, we got the iron mine. And the other iron, or the copper train obviously has also a bypass rail that comes into here because it needs to follow this network. And down the tunnel we go. Can't believe this is a 2-hour video already. There's a lot to show off, There's a lot of mediocre work to show off. And down the tunnel we go. Looks a little weird right here, don't worry about it. There's the copper train. Yeah, all the trains are color-coded, by the way. So yeah, we got the superhighway coming up here. This was just recently built. This is another project, obviously, in progress. I'm still working on it. But this is believe it or not, this is a 1 meter slope. It's the longest 1 meter slope in Satisfactory history, I'm going to say. Probably not. There's probably a bigger one. Like a 1 meter slope that went from the ground all the way to the skybox. Who knows? Yeah, the copper train comes down here, and here's the copper mine. Again, unfinished. This is the first and last copper train and copper mine I've ever put down. I've only put down one, and this is it. I've never put down another as well. So yeah, we've got the superhighway. So the reason the superhighway comes all the way down here is because I need a train line that needs to get to the top of the city, way up there. So I can't follow this rail network because that's not possible to get up there. Obviously, I could build a big spiral there, but I wanted to build a roadway as well, and you'll see why in a minute. Or I'll explain to you why in a minute why I wanted to do that. So this is actually recently unseen. Don't worry about the abyss; it'll load. This is a cave system. There we go. So I'm building a train line that goes into this tunnel. But I'm also going to build a roadway that goes into this tunnel too. Why is that so emissive? I think that's broken. It's not supposed to be that emissive. Oh, no, maybe it is. What? I don't remember these being that emissive. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm misremembering. I don't know if I'm going to fit a road and a train line in here. It might just be the train line. Like I said, I'm still working on it. But yeah, if we keep following this cave, and people that played this game know what's in here, there's this massive cavern area right here. And we don't want to go too close to it, but right there, let's get out the thing. Right there is uranium. If we get too close to it, I'll show you what happens. Radiation level. And if we keep going, we start taking damage. Don't want to take radiation damage. But yeah, this is where we're going to be pulling our uranium from for our nuclear factories. So I've already got a train ready to go. I started building the rails, and then I got sidetracked with other projects, and we're not doing the nuclear power plant yet anyway. So, but yeah, the nuclear power plant, that's the final power. I believe overclocked, doesn't it do 5,000 megawatts? It does 5,000 when it's fully overclocked. It does 5,000 megawatts. Just one of them. It's insane, but it's also insanely expensive to run. Once you get it set up, you know, obviously it'll run itself. But yeah, there's the quartz train. So yeah, now that we got all that built and all that kind of covered, the next step for us was bauxite and quartz. So we had to do an entirely new rail network in order to collect bauxite and quartz. So obviously you see the quartz train here is going up this spiral. There's actually quartz up there. So I needed a train to get up there, but I didn't know how I was going to do a rail network from there to over there. I didn't know how I was going to get it to the city. So I thought, well, this is pretty close. I just need to build a spiral. So I built a massive, massive spiral tower that allows for the train to go up and down. So I'm actually going to convert this into a dual rail eventually, if I get the time. But yeah, up here, we've got another massive rail network over here, and this is a massive hub station as well. But this was the first quartz. This is how. This is where I was going to mine. That's why there's this kind of shoddy-looking tower that's got ladders on it. That's how I got up here, and I was getting up and down. I was collecting the quartz by hand for a little while, but now we're collecting the quartz by mine. So this is what the quartz looks like, nice and purpley, and it goes into this massive, massive hub station, which several trains come here. So I needed a way to be able to not only transmit materials from far away on a train, but also to get it back to the city as well. But the places where we're pulling the materials from here, except for this quartz, is way too far away to do by train, because the amount of time between when it picks up the materials from the mine back to the city, that quartz train that's running back and forth here, doesn't take that long route. But the amount of time it would take on trips would be way too long. The train station would completely empty, the factory would shut down, for a little while before the train finally dropped off more raw material to then turn into to then get the factory up and going again. So I needed a way to be able to transmit a bunch of materials from far away, get to a place, a central place, and then transport it from that central place on another train to the city. So it's basically like a checkpoint, halfway point system. So that's why I built this massive hub. So we've got several different trains here. So we've got the Quartz hub station. This is the outbound train. So outbound A, just in case I had another one. But these ones, these are the Quartz trains. These are the inbound trains. So actually, we've got two different trains here, two different train stations kind of in a line. And you can use block signals to separate them. So, and we've got two different Quartz trains bringing in quartz. So they bring in quartz to these two different train stations, and then they transfer it over to this outbound train. That then the outbound train goes to the city. And there's lots of buffer space. Obviously, there's tons of quartz in all of these trains. Here's the outbound train now. Speaking of which, finally made its way up that spiral. It's still a long trip, but it's not as long as if it had to go out and get all this. Obviously, all these are all full because we're not using quartz currently. But we will eventually, now that we got it going there. Same with the bauxite. So we've got a bauxite, we got an outbound train of bauxite. Now we need a ton of bauxite per minute. We need an absolute crap ton of bauxite per minute for our system. That's why the bauxite train, the outbound one, is 10 cars long and not 5 cars. It's 10 cars long, so that it's bringing in enough material it can transport it to the city before the bauxite runs out. So it's bringing in an absolute crap ton of material. Same with the inbound. So the inbound ones these ones are 5 cars long. There's 2 of them. So we've got 2 5-car trains of bauxite bringing to a 10-car train. And again, if you're confused, this is an absolute crazy system, not necessary for gameplay. It's just for fun, basically for fun. Essentially, I could have done this all by belt. Would have been much simpler. Would have been expensive, but would have been much simpler. So, yeah. So they come into the train, into the station here, and they go out this line as well, using the pathing signals in order to calculate all this. So the trains know what they're doing. And now it's clear that train's going to come in. So they come in here, they go into their respective station. We'll just go out this way. And then they come in on this bypass line over here. And then they go right back out. So that way they can go in and out with ease. There's one of the inbound quartz trains. I can tell because it's on the inbound lines. So we've got 4 different trains running on these lines here. So the reason I did 2 train lines and not just 1 is because obviously the amount of train traffic for one reason, and 2, doing a dual rail is just much simpler than doing a single rail. If we did a single rail, we could do it, but that'd be what's classified as a bidirectional rail. And in order for one train to go through, only one train can be on a bidirectional rail at a time. If you get 2 trains, they come against each other, they'll sit and stare at each other. They won't run. I mean, they might run into each other if they don't have any signals, but yeah, it's just not fun. Oh yeah, this is one of the bauxite stations. So we're pulling in an absolute crap ton of bauxite at this station. Still not pulling in enough, but we're pulling in a ton. There's bauxite coming from way over there, along this belt line, down this conveyor lift. We got more coming in right there, going down here to collect here. And we're going to follow the bauxite line first. We'll just go ahead and go over there. Okay, let's go ahead and speed this up.
Harvest it.
Harvest it. I'm moving really quickly. Sorry about the blurriness. Yeah. Main rail. I'm just kind of tapping the W key here. Main rail comes all the way down here into what I call the land of depression. it's very depressing down here. If we go down to this bauxite mine, look at all the colors almost completely fade away. It's very depressing down here, and it's even worse at night. Yep, there's almost no color. That's because we're in the swampland, or as I call it, Spiderland. Yeah, we're collecting bauxite here. Let's make this a little bit more manageable. There. It's more manageable. But yeah, we got this massive bridge because I didn't want to try and work out how I was going to run a rail along this water, along this swampland, and all that stuff. So I thought I'd just go over it with a massive bridge. Yeah, we got this massive line that goes all the way down here to the final bauxite station. And like I said, oops, I think I just took a picture. If we look over here, this is the final bauxite station. This is the second bauxite station. This is the closest bauxite station right here. This is where the city is. It's way over here and way over here. So that's a lot of distance to cover. You're talking thousands of meters. You're talking kilometers at that point. And whatever that is in American. But yeah, bauxite gets collected from this spot here. But yeah, I called it, now the reason I call it the Spiderland, I'll show you. Where's he at? There's one of them here. I heard him. Obviously massive eggs. Yeah, this land is full of spiders. There's tons of them in here. We got the frozen waterfall. And then when we get close enough, it'll flow again. It's a load in. Funny. We'll just take a quick little shortcut. There's the space elevator. See it from clear over here. There's the city. There's one of the coal lines. That coal station is going to be serving for our aluminum scrap. So we take the alumina solution and aluminum scrap and we turn it into aluminum ingots, which then we take those aluminum ingots and we turn it into aluminum sheets, as well as aluminum casings. So yeah, following the bauxite line back to this intersection here. We follow this line out here, and this one goes to quartz. So this is the quartz line. This is where all the quartz trains collect their quartz from. This one's even further. This is a lot longer of a journey. So pretty darn crazy. We're getting pretty close to the end of our tour as well. So this is recent, within the last couple of weeks. There's one of the quartz trains. So you see why now I have to have the hub station. If I had those quartz trains coming all the way out here to collect quartz, this is the closest quartz other than that one that's over by the copper station. Yeah, I built this train bridge. I took an inspiration from an actual train bridge. So these barriers, these road barriers here, I used as the sleepers. And then I put these frame pillars in here as well as these painted beams. I just kind of did blue because I liked blue. Painted the concrete blue, even though it doesn't really look like it. It's faded. It's faded. Yeah, this massive train bridge that I'd go with that as a design. I got this little train bridge here. Here's the desert, by the way. If you ever go to play Satisfactory and you don't... What the heck's going on here? Signal has missing connections. That must be a bug, right? Because the train just came by here. There, fixed. Yeah, that's a bug, I guess. Weird. Whatever. Here's our quartz going into this station here. Again, incomplete station. um, as you can see, it goes all the way out here. We've got our intersection here. This intersection is going to be another rail line. We're going to have another rail network splitting off from that. Yeah, and then it goes down to this quartz station. This one, the reason this one is shaped this way is because it irritated me trying to get it hooked up. I did have enough. I don't have enough room to do a spiral. As you can see, the spirals here. The spirals actually do take up a decent amount of room, and I really didn't have the space here, other than unless I wanted to go way out here and then come all the way back, and I really did want to do that, and it was irritating. So this is what it ended up being. But yeah, the train comes in here, takes this bypass rail, and then swoops around and takes a left. And in case another train doesn't want to stop at this station, you can just bypass as well to turn around and then come back up here. So this is an example right here. This rail here is an example of a bi-directional railway. That is an example of that. So a train comes down here, it goes down here, and then it comes back this way. So bi-directional, dual directional, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, this train line, this new one, this one, we're not pulling in enough oil for our city, as I mentioned earlier. So we're going to have this train line come down here, kind of into the desert area. But yeah, if you're ever playing Satisfactory and you want a really cool area to build in, I would definitely recommend the desert. The desert area, you start around this area somewhere, there, over there, yeah, just around this area. You see, look how cool this area is. It's just a massive, massive desert, and then you've got all these cliffs and rocks to build on. Don't worry, they'll turn out of mashed potatoes here in a second once we get close enough. Come on. There we go. That's the rendering system this game has. It's not quite good enough, so Update 8 is also supposed to fix that, or at least somewhat make it better of a system. I wonder what happened here. All the texture got cut off right here. I know they were working on this area a little bit more, but yeah. So the train is going to come down this way, down this like little valley here, and it's going to end up over here because we have more oil right here. We've got a normal. So this normal fully overclocked. This one's going to be 300. This pure one over here, fully overclocked. This one's going to be 600. And this one fully overclocked. This is an impure, is going to be 150. And then we've also got a normal over here, which is going to be 300. So we got quite a lot of oil right here. I'm going to make another station, and then I'm going to do a dual rail system all the way back through that valley, and then end up back at the city as well. So pretty cool. quite a massive rail network. It is insane, but it's what kind of build I wanted to go with, which was basically a city and the trains bringing everything to the city, and hell, even transporting stuff around the city. Oh yeah, if we go out here to the cliffs area right here, this cliffs area, this overlooks swampland or spiderland, whatever you want to call it. There's that bauxite station way out there. This one's called the Titan Forest. I do know this one, called the Titan Forest, and the reason they call it the Titan Forest is because of these trees, these massive Titan trees. Quite crazy of a map, though. It is massive. And me flying like this, I'm going extremely fast, flying through the air. To walk or to drive, or heck, even by train, is slow. It's pretty darn slow. So this map is massive, and you've only seen less than half of it. Oh, I guess you can say here. So there's all this up here as well, and then there's all of this over here and over here. So yeah, we haven't even seen You know, we've seen probably about a quarter of it, if that. This map is massive. So that's why they didn't do a random gen map, is because they wanted a handcrafted one, and it was going to be a massive map that there's no way possible for you to build everywhere, you know? Like, the game would crash after that point. Okay, so after we got the bauxite and the quartz down, we decided to build another rail network for the bauxite outbound line, because I didn't want the bauxite to travel all the way down this spiral. So basically, if it was going this way, it would have to travel down the spiral, it'd have to go up the superhighway, take a right, follow that curve. You see that train there off in the distance, right where my marker is? Right about there. See that train? So that train right there, it would have to, our bauxite train would have to go up there, it had to go this way, all the way that way, go into where the fuel line, where the fuel train runs, and you see that little tunnel, that right there, it'd have to go up that way, go to where that water train is, go down there, go down into the coal generator station, into those generators where that train runs. It had to run down there into that station, go around, go to where the copper and the iron and the quartz is. Remember that whole underground section that's underneath the iron ingot factory. And then it had to go all the way there, and then it had to come all the way back to where the limestone train is, to where that limestone train, where the underneath the that factory, come all the way back, and then it would come out and end up at that station there. And I just couldn't have that. That's way too much of a network. So I decided that it was time to build another rail network, a smaller one, that just connected two rail networks together. It was way easier for the bauxite to get collected, you know, obviously then the outbound train would come out of this station right here, and it goes down this rail network right here, goes down this hill, carries on through this intersection, then goes down this hill, does this little spiral right here, and it joins the oil train network. And since it's a 10-car train, that's perfect, because the oil train line, or the oil line where the oil train runs, that was also set up for 10-car train. So it goes down this spiral and then joins up with the oil train and then heads back that way. So then when it gets to the oil train, it takes the underground route once it hits the bridge over here. It takes that underground route where the coal train runs, and we'll show that off in a little bit. Yeah. So we also need, for our aluminum stuff, we also needed water. I couldn't rely on the water that we were already collecting, because that one goes for the coal station, for the coal generators. That train line that's collecting water goes for that, so there's not much water left. What are you doing? I think there's been a signal issue. I think there's been... You're not supposed to be going that way. What are you doing? You're supposed to go this way. I don't understand. Whatever. You go the way you want. That was our coal train it's going to be collecting coal for our aluminum scrap. But yeah, we needed a ton more water being brought in. So I made this train station down here, which is the water hub station. Just for now. Not bringing in any other water. We got this massive lake that we're built on top of, so I decided to use it. And this was on Thursday that we did this. Was it Wednesday or Thursday? Just recently, we built this factory, this water collection plant. which uses all of this. And then it's all being brought back to the city on the same line as the bauxite. So that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know what the heck happened to that train. There's something, I think I need to redo this. Yeah, I think I need to redo this. Something weird is going on right here. I need to redo this eventually. But yeah, we needed coal for our so we got a little coal station over here. We needed coal for our aluminum scrap, so that's why it's collecting aluminum scrap. Or aluminum scrap. That's why it's collecting coal. Now this should be going down this way. Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna hop on. Never mind. Let me catch up. Catch up! Catch up! Yeah, got it. Again, sorry about the noise. Uh-oh. So this is also why to not have bi-directional rails if you got multiple trains. Because if we didn't have a dual rail here, we'd be in trouble. Yeah, that's the water train. We're just going to wait for it to pass. It's a 10-car water train, by the way. Insanely long. That's a lot of water, but we're going to be using a lot of water. Once the aluminum factory stuff gets set up and it starts making aluminum sheets and aluminum casings, we're going to be hurting for bauxite and water and coal and stuff. Well, we're not going to be hurting for it, but we're definitely going to be using it. So, because I have it all kind of worked out. We're pulling in more material than we need, but not much more. And not much more at all. But again, like I said, this is a massive factory. Hey, look, there's the bauxite train. The 10-car bauxite train. Now, obviously, all of these are full trains, because we're not using any of the materials yet. The aluminum solution, or the aluminum factory, is not quite all set up. We still need a... oh, there's the other coal train. Okay, which one's going to be next? Oh, that oil train's empty. Oh, that's not good. That means we're using a lot of oil currently. Yeah, so these path signals for the trains, the way they work is the train will reserve the path signal when it needs it, but it's a first come first served basis. So basically, what happened there was the other coal train reserved this intersection first, and then that oil train that was empty, that one reserved it next, and then we reserved it the third, so we were the third to go into the intersection. So that's how that works. So yeah, for intersections, do path signals. For long train lines that have no intersections in them, use the block signals. And everything stays simple that way. You won't have any signal errors or anything like that. But if you use just path signals, sometimes you'll get signal errors. So the water train, the bauxite train, and this coal train, as well as the other coal train, come through this system here, this train line. So instead of going up to the top of the bridge where the oil goes, this train and the bauxite train and the water train and the other coal train come down into this tunnel here as well. So yeah, if you're wondering why this tunnel is the way it is, this tunnel's a little bit crazy in here, is because there's a lot of obstacles as far as terrain. There's a lot of terrain obstacles in here that I can't remove or change. So this train tunnel had to be a little bit crazy. And we've reserved this intersection, so there's where, that's where the limestone's being collected. Couldn't look to the left because of the camera. But yeah, this was just recently built. I mean, just finished building this within the last week. So now we are, like I said, we are the coal train. And we'll go ahead and get off here. There we go. So I just built this massive thing. So this is the water and the bauxite that gets carried over to that factory there. So the train comes in, all three trains come in this way. The water gets dropped off here, the bauxite gets dropped off here. Obviously I've color coded it. And the coal, the recent one, has been dropped off here. Don't worry about this train. This train is my construction train. Just kind of hanging out. This rail is not ever needed, so I can just leave my construction train. So the construction train, basically what I do is when I'm building rails, I will often load this up with materials that I need far away from the base, far away from the city in this case. And then when I'm building rails, I can just build the rail and bring my construction train along so that my inventory can be full and that train can be full, and I can have tons of materials. I can have all the materials I can pretty much ever want. Yeah. So like I said, this is recently built. This is my train station. And this is another train station underneath here. It has to be lifted up because of the like I said, the obstacles of terrain, as you can see here. And the train stations have to be, I think it's 4.5 or 5 foundations tall. So pretty crazy. They're very big. Also, yeah. So those are the modular motors. So this is what we just finished with, just at the end of this last week. And next week we'll be going more into aluminum, like aluminum ingots and whatnot. So all the water comes up into here, all the bauxite comes in here, turns it into aluminum solution, and silica. The silica goes over here, along with the coal when I get the coal hooked up, and that will turn it into aluminum scrap. The aluminum scrap will then be brought out of the system along with the silica. And that aluminum scrap will then go into aluminum ingots, where we need to add the aluminum scrap and copper in order to turn it into aluminum ingots, that then turn the aluminum ingots into copper sheets or something like that. Anyway, I got the system over here. So this is how I've been keeping track of everything. I got this massive board of materials. It's not complete. I don't have everything on here that I'm doing, but I have most stuff. I got all the raw materials. So on the left, that's all production, the up arrow, and all the down arrow is the consumption. But yeah, the one I wanted to show you was the oil. So this oil, yeah, we're bringing in it. We're not bringing in enough oil, but the reason that this says that we are is because I've already calculated that other oil spot that I showed you earlier, where we're going to be bringing in more oil. So we'll be bringing in 3,600. This is all together. This is the entire build of how much everything is taken. So we're bringing in 3,600 cubic meters per minute, and we're going to be consuming 3,000 with everything running at 100% efficiency. So this is how much water we're bringing in, 7,200, and we're consuming 40-60 of that. Same with all this. So we've got iron. We're not bringing in enough iron. We're not bringing in enough copper. We're not bringing in limestone. We're not bringing in enough coal. I don't know, did I recalculate the numbers for coal? I don't remember. We are bringing in enough this, but I don't have that factory set up. We're bringing in more than enough quartz. See, look, this bauxite, we're bringing in 3,750, and we're using 1,200 of it at max efficiency, so pretty crazy. Same with the ingots, we're producing 3,000, we're consuming 2,100. This is all at 100% if everything was running. And I've got other liquids and materials and stuff on here that I'm actually not using yet. But yeah, producing 1,800 scrap, that's it. Pretty crazy. With 10 machines. But yeah, that's pretty much the city. I don't have anything really left to show. That's the entire build. Like I said, we're at 607 hours now. This is a massive build. Like I said, not necessary. I'd say 95% of this build is not necessary to complete the game. I say 95% because there's a lot of it. Yeah. I'd say in total 50 to 100 hours, and you have completed the game. And that's doing a slow build. So, and see, now that we've upped our amount of crude oil we're consuming to produce fuel, because we're not using the heavy oil anymore, look how much more polymer resin we're making in order to keep up with the system. And if we look over here, yeah, we're starting to eat into our reserves because just the crude oil into fuel alone is not enough to keep up the amount of power we're using. There's the fuel train, by the way. Yeah, like I said, that's gonna go ahead and round us out for this episode. 2.5 hours of a city tour. Sorry that I over-explained things, but that's just the way it is. Yep, that's just the way it is. But yeah, we'll continue back on our main series, back on this series. We'll continue it Tuesday. So Monday we're going to go ahead and leave out because of this episode. But yeah, let's go ahead and turn this off. Good music. Good music. Glad it's copyright free as well. Anyway, like I said, that is going to be it for this episode of Satisfactory and for this city tour. Again, apologies for the long episode or for over-explaining things and whatnot. But yeah, that's quite a lot to show off. But yeah, I do hope you enjoyed. And until next time, I guess it's a goodbye.